Today's story is Kara by Ray Beaman. If there was one thing that I could say about Kara, well, it'd have to be that there was originally very little to actually say about her. She seemed unassuming. She seemed kind of shy, and to be honest, she just seemed kind of normal. I met her a few months ago at a friend's party. She'd been invited by her friend who was acquainted with mine. It really seemed like nothing more than a passing link, an unlikely connection which had resulted in a chance encounter. She seemed nice, and she seemed funny. We spoke of politics, religion, of war, and of love. We pretty much hit every subject that you are expected to avoid on a night out drinking, but the conversation was pleasant and it never deviated from lighthearted. She even spoke briefly of her ex-partner, whom she'd not long been broken up with. He's always working through the night, probably on the lookout for the next challenge. The next challenge? Her strange choice of words stuck with me. I really thought that Kara was nothing more than a forgetful name, a smile and a courteous laugh that was soon to become lost within a friends list somewhere on my social media. We exchanged our pleasantries, we exchanged our goodbyes, and that was where it should have ended. But it did not end. Not long after that, Kara was everywhere. The first time I bumped into her again, she seemed just as normal as she had on our first meeting. It was a week or so after the party, and I had stopped in the coffee shop a few buildings down from my office for my morning boost. It was a Friday morning, so I naturally had a lot on my mind as I stood and waited patiently in queue. There were deadlines to hit today and things to take care of by 5, so I really needed my coffee. And it was there, as my mind drifted, that I heard my name. I turned on the spot to see Kara smiling at me, as she waited just behind me in line. The exchange was brief. I was polite, but most importantly, I was abrupt. Today was not a good day for my routine to be interrupted, so I told her that I was busy. I told her that I wished that we had had more time to catch up, and I told her that I would send her a message soon. I essentially lied to her, but that was what people do. That was normal behavior. I mean, she was nothing more than a stranger, a name almost forgotten from a gathering just over a week ago. But somehow, through chance, she'd managed to endure. She'd persisted into my life, into real life. I left the shop and Kara along with it, hoping that would be the last moment of our lingering relationship. However, I would soon realize that she was here to stay. She was in the supermarket where I shopped. She was on my bus on the way to work, in the coffee shop once again, and in the park where I sit at lunch. She was literally everywhere. What was strange was that she never tried to talk to me again after our second meeting. It was obvious that I had noticed her, and it was obvious that she was only at these places because I was at these places. But she never tried to approach me, which was somehow even more unsettling. Just knowing that she was there, just knowing that she was everywhere without knowing why, made me more paranoid with each passing day. Just when I thought the situation could not be any more surreal, the messages started. They were not just messages, though. No, they were intrusive and they were personal. They would always be at the dead of night, during the minutes and hours that the world slept and the earth would fall deathly silent. 1 o'clock in the morning. I hope you had a good day. 2 in the morning. I'm looking forward to catching up. 3 in the morning. We should meet up soon. 1 minute past that. I'm missing you. 2 minutes passed. I'm really missing you. 3 minutes passed. Where are you? I spoke with the police the first thing in the morning, but they were less than helpful. They agreed with me that Kara's behavior was odd, but they seemed somewhat skeptical that a friendship was not pre-existing, based solely on the context of these messages. I tried to explain to them that it was this that was concerning me the most, as her intimacy and familiarity was misplaced and, more importantly, unrequited. But they simply brushed me off. They advised me to contact my provider, to block her number and remove her from all social media accounts. They informed me that if she was to try and contact me again, then I should report it immediately. And then they left, taking with them my hopes of resolution, out into the cold night, never to be seen or heard from again. My phone continued to buzz through the darkness every single night following. I knew what the police had told me to do, and I knew what common sense said I should do, but I felt as if the strength was draining from me. I felt that if I phoned the police again, they might not believe me, or that they would believe me, and then all of a sudden, all of this would be real. I feared being ridiculed, and I feared being considered weak, but most of all, I feared once again not being believed. So, I just accepted it, without accepting it, and I continued to helplessly watch the dull glow of my phone as it lit up my room for the nights which followed. Jesus, Kat, how long has this been going on for? It feels like forever, but the days and the weeks are a bit of a mess now. Philip shook his head. You shouldn't have told me earlier. Well, I can't just let you up and leave by yourself, now can I? Can I at least walk you home? It's already dark out there. No, honestly, it's fine. I've never seen Kara in here, and it's just a short walk through the park. I'll be home in less than 10 minutes. I'm fine, I promise. Besides, you have a longer journey than I do, and I can't see you being much help after your 6th drink. Philip smiled. Fair point, Kat. Just call me when you get home, please. I agreed, and we exchanged our goodbyes. Hindsight is a funny thing. Most people in my situation probably would have taken a friend up on such a sweet offer. Most probably would have preferred a chaperone on a night so dark and empty, but Kara had worn me down. She had somehow managed to break me, after weeks of her intrusive behavior, and in that moment, my fear of someone noticing this was far greater than my fear of her. So, I left to begin my walk home, all alone. The crisp air immediately chilled as I stepped out onto the empty street. Closing time hadn't quite come, so the streets were nothing more than a void, patiently awaiting the chaos which would come when the clock struck 1. I pulled my coat tighter around my body and headed towards the park. The park itself was usually abandoned during the day, so I knew that I would have it for myself at this hour. I'd been there several times before, but never at night. It was a hidden gem, which sat nicely in between my home and route to work. The space was flanked by houses on either side, and it was further hidden away by an array of tall trees on the boundary, which made the whole area feel secluded, in a nice sort of way. The large lake in the middle was an added bonus, and a lovely spot to sit and read on a summer's day. Tonight, however, as I neared the gate, it felt foreboding. There would be little to no light, and I would be truly alone. It's not that far, just get through and you will be home. I paused for a second at the gate and sighed. I knew it would be pitch black inside, but going around was not an option now. The entrance I stood at was on a long and unending road. A detour would cost me an hour at least. Just do it, get it over with. Tentatively, I stepped through the gate, the light of the world escaping behind me as I wandered below the large, looming trees which hung heavily overhead. It was dark, darker than I had expected. I could just about make out the path before me, which extended roughly 20 or so meters before abruptly turning off to the right. I quickened my pace and moved further into the park. The air, which had once felt sharp, somehow felt different now. It felt still. It felt thick, and it felt as if it was slowly growing around me. I found myself breathing heavily as an irrational panic began to consume me. Every dark corner and every hollowed tree concealed danger. I would never see it coming. I would never have a chance. I tried to shake the unsettling feeling as I made the turns and continued to follow my way towards the large lake at the center. I knew that I had to get out of the park as soon as possible. I just knew that coming here was a mistake. I cursed myself for being so foolish, for being so concerned with what others thought of me, and for being so weak. Quicker. You have to be quicker. I could feel my legs tremble as I closed the distance to the lake. The whole area hung eerily still, and the darkness of the night seemed to be getting thicker as I neared the body of water. The night seemed so foreign, so out of place. It was deathly silent all around. Not even the noise of a passing car could be heard as I began to make out the faint outline of the lake not too far away. In that moment, the world felt as if it did not exist. Only I and the park could be considered reality, both trapped inside darkness and encased within the tingling sense of dread which had begun to grow throughout my body. It was then that I felt my phone as it vibrated in my pocket. I reached in and retrieved the phone, the glow of the screen barely permeating the thick blackness which now surrounded me. The message from Kara was simple, but her words carried so much weight. It really is quite beautiful. I can see now why you come here. My heart strained as the words sank in. Suddenly, the space around me seemed so open, and the night seemed to move in waves around me, its current threatening to submerge me beneath the deep if I did not do something and do it fast. Oh God, she's here. She's here. A second message flashed up on my screen. I'm glad you chose this space. It's so peaceful with just the two of us. The world was spinning, and it was spinning fast. My fingers trembled against my phone as the realization of what was happening flashed harsh through my soul. Suddenly, my legs were moving and I was running. The trees, the lake, and the never-ending darkness became a blur in the motion. My mind was consumed in panic and my limbs pulsed with adrenaline. I ran and I kept running, as fast as I could, until my legs burned and my heart pumped violently. Kara's here. She's here. I could see my exit. It was not far. Just another 30 seconds or so. I knew that I could make it. I knew that I had to make it. I just had to. Stopping for even a second would be dangerous, so I pushed myself to my limits and forced my body to carry me the last few remaining steps towards freedom. After an eternity, I made it, and I tumbled through the open gate as I collapsed, exhausted, a few steps just outside. I lay there, not even caring that I had come to rest in a puddle as the dirty wetness soaked my jeans. I gave myself a few moments to regain my composure, and when I felt ready, I brought my phone from my pocket and quickly ordered an Uber. There was no way I would be completing the rest of my journey on foot. Thankfully, the car arrived quickly, and I wasted no time climbing into the safe confines of the warm and welcoming taxi. The journey home was brief but long. I reiterated my address to the driver, who seemed to be having trouble with his GPS, and allowed my thoughts to wander. My mind was still not quite my own, and it tormented me with all the possibilities which may have come to pass. Kara was getting worse. That much was clear. I could not allow this to continue any longer. After all, what would she do next? Anything was now possible, and each and every little scenario was so much more disturbing and debilitating than the last. This could not continue. The car pulled up outside my home, and I quickly thanked the driver and made my way inside. I locked every door. I checked every window, and only once I was sure that my home was secure, I sank to the floor, and I cried. I cried so hard. All of the weeks since meeting Kara came flooding out. The sadness, the terror, the messages, and my nights alone. All of it was just too much to bear. I sobbed, more so than I have at any other point in my life. I was simply spent. I allowed everything which I had been holding inside for so long to come out. The outpouring washed over me as I released the torment from my body. It was there, in my home, alone and distressed, that I finally decided that I would not be beaten by her. I would not relent, and I was not weak. After a few moments, I pulled my phone from my pocket. I should let Philip know I'm home. He'll worry otherwise. As the screen lit up, my heart almost stopped. There was a message, but thankfully it was not from Kara. I exhaled my relief and opened the message, which appeared to be a push notification. Your Uber driver has canceled. For a few seconds, I just stared at my screen, trying to comprehend what the words meant. It was then that a second message came through, this time from an unknown number. Everything that happened up until that point could not have prepared me for what I was about to read. Thank you for allowing me to escort you home tonight. Our Kara said that you were our new challenge, and boy, she was not lying. You're not like the other girls, little dolls. You're much more special. Be ready for us, my dear, because Kara and I, well, we will be seeing you very soon. Sleep tight, little bird. For tomorrow, we meet again. So that, my lovely listeners, was once again Kara by the always amazing Ray Beaman. Ray Beaman wrote a wonderful story that I narrated recently called A Circle. It was a really good story, and if you haven't listened to that one, I highly, highly recommend it because it was just beautifully written. Honestly, I'm actually quite honored to read Ray's stuff. Ray is a fantastic author and runs a website called A Right Struggle. All the links for that are down in the description. Please do consider supporting this wonderful person in their authorship and check out their websites, pages, etc. Please. Literally, I'm begging you to please support this person. Like, that's not me just plugging this in here because I was asked to. This is me saying, please support this person, because supporting authors is one of the biggest things you can do to encourage us to continue on in our art. It's quite a thankless art, honestly, if that makes any sense. Anyway, thank you again, Ray, for letting me read this. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did and would like more like this, please consider joining the Nevermore. To do that, all you have to do is hit that little subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. Makes you part of the Nevermore. You can follow me on any of my social media websites or the official website, astheravendreams.com, or support the channel through Patreon or Coffee. All of this is optional, and all of it is appreciated more than you will ever know. Thank you to everyone who listens and everyone who is supporting the channel through Patreon. All of you guys are amazing, and I love you. And that's just kind of how that works. I love you all anyways, but, you know. Anyway, I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you on the next video, but until then, sleep well.